Hi, so per the assignment, my initial post is going to be the 6-step process of risk management. The first step being identifying and understanding your risks. So let's say you are considering purchasing a restaurant from another owner. You have physical risks, you have location risks, you have human risk, technology risks. Examples of those, how for location, how likely are you to be affected by a storm where it's going to cause damage or flooding? Or for a physical risk, how likely is there to be fires? Human risk, how reliable is the current staff? Do they have criminal backgrounds? Has anybody embezzled from the company? And then technology risks are like power outages. So once you identify and you understand those risks, the next step is going to be evaluating the potential of the severity of the risks. So that comes in 3 categories. The first is critical, second is extremely important, and then the other one's moderately important. So if you're going from a monetary perspective, you're going to see which one of those risks are going to potentially bankrupt you. So which risks are going to be easily covered, and then let's say something would be moderate would be like, for example, actually this would probably be critical, the whole pandemic shutting down restaurants. Some were bankrupted. So once you have everything evaluated, you can move on to selecting how you're going to manage the risk. And so there's risk control and risk financing. So if you choose risk control, there you have 4 controls that you can utilize. You have eliminating a risk, you have minimizing a risk, you have shifting a risk, and then you have absorbing a risk. So for example of eliminating risk, based off experience, I worked in a restaurant, and before they had a lot of walkouts, so they were risking losing money because people were walking out of the tab. And what they decided to do is then they would require a card to begin a tab. You slide it in the system, you hand the card back, so you're not at any risk of keeping this person's card. But now if they walk out on that tab, you have their credit card and you run it, and now you eliminated the risk of losing that money. Then there's minimizing the risk. So let's say this restaurant you're opening is in an area where there's a lot of power outages. You can have a backup generator, or you're concerned that a fire would start. Minimizing that risk would be putting in proper fire alarms, sprinkler systems. That's another way of minimizing that risk. Shifting the risk is, let's say that you hire a cleaning service for this restaurant instead of having your own staff clean, and then you have them sign a contract saying that they mop the floor and they forget to put up a wet floor sign. Now the liability is on them, and your restaurant's no longer at fault if a customer falls, hurts themselves, and they want money for the hospital. Now it's the third party's responsibility to give the money to the person who fell. And then absorbing the risk. And then there's risk absorption is not just saying, hey, this company can withstand a loss if any of these risks occur. Risk absorption is going to rely heavily on management. So for example, you have one of the risks I stated earlier was your staff. Now, if your staff is unhappy, like say for the example, the kitchen is being overworked and they decide to just walk out. To prevent this, you're going to make sure that you are scheduling accordingly. You're not overworking anybody. You're paying a fair wage. So then after that, then there's also risk financing, and then basically what that is setting aside funds to cover anything that wasn't taken care of with your risk controls. Once you've done that, you can implement a decision that you're going to you can implement your decision about which action you're going to take, and then step 5 is taking that action. Your decision has been made on which technique is going to be used to manage, and then you're going to start purchasing insurance or setting aside funds to cope with any of the risks that do come up. And then after that, then you have your 6th step, and that's where you review and evaluate. This is important because conditions change, new risks come up, and then old ones disappear, hopefully, as long as everything is going well. And then if you go over earlier decisions that are made, maybe you realize that using this one specific method is actually what caused like mistakes that happened earlier. So that was the 6 step process of risk management. Again, I'm usually not this monotone. I've just been up since 4:30, and it's just been one of those weeks where this kind of discussion escaped me. So I hope I bettered your understanding of the process of risk management and didn't confuse you further. So thanks.